Hello there, welcome to the news review on Unilag TV. In our last episode, we talked about the teacher's appraisal exam, the way forward, where we saw in the news that, and it stated that about 11,350 candidates participated in the Teachers Registration Council's professional qualifying examination conducted by the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, TRCN, the regulatory agency for teaching in Nigeria, whose mission is to ensure excellence and professionalism among teachers at all levels of the nation's education system. Today, we will be taking the topic a notch higher as we will be looking at the relevance of the teacher's appraisal exam and, of course, the expectations this appraisal will have on the tertiary institutions. To have this discussion with me and more is the Dean of the Faculty of Education from the University of Lagos. I am Vina Peters. Let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining, it's the news review on Unilag TV, and remember to follow us across all social media platforms at Unilag on TV. We are discussing the relevance and expectations of the teacher's appraisal exam as it affects tertiary institution, and I have Professor Simeon Adebayo Oladipo, the Dean of the Faculty of Education from the University of Lagos. Welcome to the program, Prof.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let me quickly know your thoughts about the teacher's appraisal exam.
Thank you very much. Teachers, like we know, they are critical elements in the educational system.
Okay.
Without effective teachers, the expected results of the system will never be gotten. And so there is the need for teachers to be effective. And for teachers to be effective, they must have basic skills. And the skills need to be tested to actually know whether these teachers have the expected skills that will make them deliver their services excellently in the classrooms.
Okay, so this particular teacher's appraisal exam, does it actually affect you professors of the institution? When I say professors, I mean generally like lecturers of the institutions.
Well, exam is not the issue.
Okay.
Assessing the knowledge, the skills, the methodology are the basic things that we need to teach at this higher level. At the higher level, we are not sitting for exam as instructors, as lecturers, no. But we are assessed based on the system that we call the annual performance evaluation report.
Okay, that's the upper form.
The upper form.
Okay.
And you know the basic areas of assignments of lecturers in the tertiary institutions include teaching, research, and community service.
Exactly.
And these areas are assessed in the annual evaluation performance report. And from there, teachers, or rather, lecturers are assessed. They are graded by their superordinates in their various units.
Okay.
So maybe the heads of departments will grade those that are under him, the members, the academic members of his departments, based on these three areas. How effective is the lecturer in his teaching assignments, in his research productivity, in his community service?
Okay.
All these are assessed. But at the lower level, there may be exams for assessing the teachers at the lower level. But in the tertiary institutions, we don't sit for exams for promotion.
Okay.
Mind you, in the public service again, at the higher level also, they sit for exams for promotion. And so that is the uniqueness of tertiary institutions, particularly in Nigeria. We don't sit for exams for promotion, but we are adequately assessed to ensure that we deliver our responsibilities as expected of us and with good results.
Okay. In line with the appraisal of lecturers.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the number of students that passes a lecturer's course,
Yes.
is it also part of a requirement for a lecturer in terms of his appraisal form? Does it actually required?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. But there's what we call self-appraisal. A lecturer is also supervised by a superior officer in that area.
Okay.
That's what mentoring is all about. So there is the need for adequate mentoring, which will enhance the quality of service delivery of the teachers. The more experienced teachers, the more experienced lecturers will supervise the younger ones to enable them acquire the necessary skills, the confidence, the competence, and all the kind of skills that will make them perform individually and excellently when the superior is not there. And so it is the duty of the head to assign the senior ones to supervise the younger ones in their teaching learning activities. In my university, here in the University of Lagos,
Okay.
lecturers don't teach a course alone.
Okay.
We co-teach so that there will be adequate monitoring of these lecturers, the younger ones. And that's why mentoring is important, to ensure competence, to ensure uniformity, to ensure adequate supervision, and consequently better quality of service delivery in teaching and learning in the classroom.
Okay, so
That's what we do.
Okay, so how does the teacher's appraisal now address the unique challenges and demands faced by lecturers?
Thank you very much. Like I said earlier, the superior will grade the activities of the younger ones during the appraisal year or during the stipulated year.
Okay.
The performance of everyone in the department will be assessed by the head of department. There is a section for teaching and learning. There is a section for research activities. There is a section for administrative activities. There is a section for community service and what you do for your university, what you do for the state, what you do for the nation, and all that. All these are areas that lecturers are expected to function. And so these are the areas that will be assessed at the end of the session. to
Okay.
actually determine the level of performance of each staff. That is what we do. And we don't sit for exam. That is our own kind of exam. You prepare for it. It's a continuous thing.
Okay.
What you did at first semester, what you did second semester, at the end of the second semester, that makes the end of the session. And so you are assessed based on all this. It's a continuous thing. People are watching. You know, the quality assurance unit of the university monitors what you do in the classroom. They monitor the teaching learning process. They monitor administration of examination. They monitor the scores. They monitor the results of students, adequacy and inadequacy of the content of what you teach. All these are monitored. And if you are not doing it well, it will reflect in your annual evaluation report, performance evaluation.
Okay, now there are situations. Now I'm coming from the perspective of a student. Now there are situations whereby we have some lecturers
Yes.
whom most students would not like to attend their classes. Now, not because the course is irrelevant, but because the lecturer doesn't teach well. And now, by teaching well, I mean the most lecturers will just come to class, scribble some things on the wall, and say one or two words, and they leave. Now, some of them would actually explain, and students will actually understand the point the lecturer is having. And now, for those lecturers now that do not really communicate what the course is all about, do they go through any kind of training as regards teaching students?
Thank you very much. This is a very important question. It is critical. That's personality of the teacher. When you hate a teacher, you hate his course.
Exactly.
That is the normal thing. From the primary school to the secondary level to tertiary institution. When a student hates the teacher, he will hate the course, and that will invariably affect the performance of the students or the learner in that program. You see, I'll give you instances of why students fail mathematics, for instance. It's the way the math teachers teach their subjects that will make students run away from the courses.
Exactly.
But they will run to courses or subjects where they like the teacher because of the approach to teaching. And so it is important that the methodology is known. The principles and practice of teaching is inculcated adequately in the teacher.
Okay.
So that's where training comes in. Adequate training comes in. Because whoever will become a teacher must be very sound in communication, in human relation, in teamwork, in cooperation, in openness, in friendliness. These qualities, you see, and like we all say, teachers are in loco parentis. So teachers are supposed to be parents to these learners.
Exactly.
But when teachers that are supposed to teach are harsh, they are difficult to approach, then students will not like them. If they don't like them, they will not like attending their lectures, and they will not pass, they will not perform well in such courses. So methodology is important, and that's why we advocate for teaching, for training and retraining of teachers at whatever level.
Okay.
And that's where Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria comes in to ensure professionalism in teaching. When you employ a teacher, it is not just to put the person in the classroom and teach geography, teach mathematics, teach history, teach English language and all that. But there are other things that must be taught to that teacher before he can function effectively in the classroom. So the principles of teaching, the teacher must know. The methodology of delivering that particular course or that particular subject must be thoroughly taught to the teacher. And these are the areas that Teachers Selection Council of Nigeria will examine in ensuring that teachers at that level possess. So if they have these qualities that are determined through examinations, then they will know that, oh, this teacher will be effective. There's one thing, one thing is passing the exam, another thing is being able to deliver physically. Some people may be very good in writing, but in delivering that lesson, it may be a problem because they may be shy. They may not be such that can approach the people, that can speak, that can tolerate, inadequacies of the learners. Some may not be able to endure, they may not be able to persevere, and that's why they react to issues that are not necessary in the classroom. There are things that learners will do in the classroom and you just overlook. But if you are not confident, if you are not confident enough, you may not be able. If you cannot persevere, you may not be able to bear it. You may react, and when you react, the students too may also react. And so it becomes a problem in the class, and you may not be able to manage that type of classroom. So class management comes in there. Ability to endure, ability to manage different kinds of people in the classroom, because in your classroom you have those that are very brilliant, you have those that are average, you have those that are challenged in one way or the other, and you are able to manage them. Ability to manage such group of people is what competence is all about. And so teachers must be examined in all these areas. Now, coming back to the university level, lecturers are not examined, but Teachers Selection Council of Nigeria asks everyone, as long as you teach, to go through the examination so that you will be certificated and be called a registered teacher, a professionally registered teacher in Nigeria, as it is done in advanced countries. You cannot jump into classroom and begin to teach in the advanced world. Just like the medical doctors cannot, engineers cannot, lawyers cannot, and all that. And so those in the education sector also need to be regulated. They need to be monitored. So teachers in the system must be monitored to ensure that they deliver adequately, they are efficient in the classroom, and the system is effective.
Okay.
So,
now, still on that, how do you determine, now from a lecturer side,
yes,
how do you determine a lecturer who doesn't teach well, given my own illustration? Now, since you said that number of students that are required to pass a particular course is
yes,
not part of the requirements for promotion for a lecturer.
No. Because there are reasons, good reasons for performance, factors affecting performance of students. The teacher is one.
Good.
The teacher is one. The quality of the teacher is one. Then the student's preparation and maturity is another. The classroom environment is another. The government policy is another. Parental influence is another. The stakeholders in education are many. And so every one of them contribute to the making of the learner and the performance of the learner. You cannot blame the teacher for every poor performance. No. You have to look at the cause of the performance. Maybe the lecturer didn't teach well. That's one. Maybe the lecturer didn't use appropriate methods of teaching. That's another. Maybe the lecturer didn't use appropriate instructional materials to teach. That's another one. Maybe the students were not prepared. That's another one. Maybe the teacher, the students were not ready at that time for that complex, depending on the context, depending on the content that are taught, the concept that are taught at that level. Maybe the lecturer didn't teach the rudiments, because the principle is that you teach from known to unknown, from simple to complex. Maybe the lecturer that is not experienced picked the complex and started from the complex. That would discourage the learner. It may affect. Then the policies, like in my class, at times you have about 1,000 in a class. The place that is meant for, or a hall or a classroom that is meant for about maybe 150, you have 300, 400, 500, 1,000. Maybe a faculty course, maybe a university-wide course, maybe a departmental compulsory course, where other students from other departments take the same course. So in the same class, you have about 1,000 students. It is difficult for that lecturer to monitor what those students are doing.
So how the
facilities, that's also affair. I've been trying to tell you the reasons for poor performance, so that you will not blame teachers for every poor performance.
Okay.
So I said there are a number of factors revolving around the performance of a student at any point in time. So when the teacher is assessed, the assessment will not be based on that score of that particular course. No. But if the lecturer is persistent in giving or in producing poor performance every semester, then we have to watch it.
Okay.
The lecturer teaches 2 or 3 courses in a semester, and in his lectures, in his courses, you just see students failing the course. There are a good number of them, maybe 30% failed, 40% failed every time in his own course. Then something is wrong with the lecturer, not these circumstances that I've listed. Then something is wrong with the teaching method, with the personality of the person, with the human relation of the person, with the training of the person, with the skills of the person, and all that. So that's where the department will now come to say, oh, Dr. So and so, we have noticed that in your course, first semester, in so and so, in EDM, so and so, your 30% of your students failed. And in your course, EDM, so and so again, this number of students failed. In the third course again, this number of students failed. Then the senior people will now look at it and say, well, something must be wrong with this particular course. Is it because the contents were not taught adequately? Is it because the lecturer didn't teach at all? Is it because the methodology was wrong? Is it because the students didn't come? Is it because they only came for the exam, not lectures? Is it because assignments were not given? Is it because assignments that were given were not marked? All these are the areas that the senior people, the senior lecturers there, will look at and advise the concerned lecturer.
Okay, we'll hold you right there, and we'll go for this quick break. And when we return, we'll continue with the questions. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's to the news review on Unilag TV, and I still have the Dean of the Faculty of Education in the studio. Okay, so before we went on a break, we were talking about competence of lecturers
Lecturers
in the classroom.
in the classroom.
And like one of my colleague rightly pointed out just right before we came back, so how can you actually address such?
Thank you very much. The issue is this, just like he pointed out, there are lecturers that will come in and begin to tell stories. They deviate completely from the content of what they are
the
supposed
course.
to teach.
Yes.
Well, there is one thing that we should learn or that we should know in the classroom. You arrest the attention of your students by telling stories.
True.
It's important, but you have to be time conscious. It is not just to read and read and read and read without linking this to their interest. You see, at times when you see a well-dressed person, a well-dressed student, at times you can comment. When you see somebody who speaks well, you can make your comments. These are ways of arresting the attention of students when you know that they are not concentrating and you are too officious in your discussion. No, you have to make your teaching as lively as possible. That is not to say that they should deviate from the concept that they are teaching. Like someone said, what about lecturers that will tell stories all through the 2 hours? Yes, it is possible, but that is not encouraged. That should not be encouraged at all in the classroom. The content must be taught. And that's why every lecturer must give the course outline to the students at the beginning of the semester. Because the students must read ahead, they must prepare ahead, they must know. And don't forget again that at the tertiary level, we are not spoon feeding them. They are supposed to be researchers. You give them principles, give them tips in their concepts, and allow them to go and research more on those concepts. And when they come the following in the following lecture, then you remind them, you ask them questions to show whether they actually went to research on those concepts in preparation for the new one or not. But if you tell stories without addressing the concept of the day, then you may lose focus entirely, and that is not that should not be encouraged in any way. Lecturers should be friendly, lecturers should be smart, lecturers should be business minded. So what they are supposed to teach, they must teach. What the students should learn, they must have. Not lecturers that will come twice in a semester. In a semester of about 14 weeks, you know, the first week is for revision, preparation, and all, talking about the objectives of the course, the content, and all that. You may do that in the first 1 or 2 weeks. The second week, business has started. Then at the middle, you have your test, and at the end also you have your test. What they do is continuous assessment. We call it continuous assessment because it is not done once.
Okay.
There is what we call summative evaluation. Summative evaluation is what will determine the level of preparation of the students at the beginning of that course. Then there's what we call diagnostic evaluation. That's what will make the lecturers know how the students are following you in your lectures. As the lecture progresses, you determine whether they understand, whether they have challenges, whether they are doing that or not. That's diagnostic. Then at the end of that lecture, you have what we call summative evaluation. That's the one that you will do to determine whether they actually acquire the necessary skills in that course or not. So it is done in one lecture, it is done in one program, it is done at the end of it is done within the presentation of your lecture in 2 hours. It is done in the semester, at the beginning of the semester, and at the middle of the semester, at the end of the semester. It is done at the end of the year also. So you have summative evaluation, diagnostic evaluation, and summative evaluation to enable you determine the level of achievement of the objectives of your lecture, of the concepts that you outlined in your course. And so it is important. But when those evaluation processes are not followed, it may be difficult for the teacher to know whether they actually achieved the goals, or they actually achieve the objectives of the concepts or not. Because in every lecture you have objectives to be achieved. In every lecture you prepare your objectives for this concept. Maybe you prepare about 4 objectives for this. At the end of this lecture, students should be able to do this, and these are stated in clear, measurable, and specific terms. And if those objectives are not met, then it means that you have not achieved the objective of that lecture. You may come back to it, or you find out why they didn't achieve the objective, or why you also didn't achieve the objective. So you re-examine yourself. So continuous assessment is important. In tertiary institutions, that it is called continuous because it's not one. Like some lecturers will come at the end of the semester to give a test. And that is what they are going to use to assess the student. It is wrong. That's not continuous assessment. Continuous assessment should be at least 2, 3 in a semester.
Okay.
At least 2, 3, if possible 4. You give assignment, you give projects, you give and you ensure that the students are attending lectures at the right time. Any student who does not attend lectures for 65%, does not have 65% attendance in that lecture in the semester, should not be allowed to write the exam. That's the policy. That's the policy. But most lecturers that do not even meet the 65% will not make use of the policy, because they too do not attend lectures for 65. They do not meet 65%, which is also wrong. So every lecturer is expected to attend lectures throughout the semester. Your 12 weeks out of the 14 weeks must be for the lectures. And so if you as the lecturer do not make 65%, how will you now enforce 65%? So that's why there is the need for thorough supervision of the lecturers themselves. And that's what quality assurance unit is doing, to ensure that lecturers attend lectures as at when due. Students will assess, students will give attendance, students will tell the officers of the quality assurance unit whether the lecturers have been coming or not. In Nigeria, we are scared of students assessing us. And when students assess us, they know us. But in advanced countries, students' assessment is key in assessing the lecturer. But here, we are scared. Students too do not even know their rights from their left from right. So they should report the lecturers who do not make the adequate appearances in the classroom during the semester. Yes, they should report the lecturer. Yes.
No, because I think why
it's to their disadvantage, though.
I think why students would not do that
because of harassment.
Exactly.
Because of harassment.
Because nobody wants a lecturer to actually fail them when it comes to exams.
The course reps are there to present the reports, secretly to the appropriate quality assurance officers.
This question.
Thank you.
Before you actually,
it's not in our character anyway to do what you have in mind.
Let me quickly ask you this question before you go, because we are actually past our time here. Okay, so what do you think the effect of these appraisal could lead to now and in the long run?
There is the need for us to do the appraisal as excellently as possible, as diligently as possible, as sincerely as possible, as competently as possible. Because every teacher today is not just working for the pay that he receives, he's working to mold lives. Molding lives in the 21st century will involve producing graduates or learners that are competent globally. Learners that are global, with global competence. Global competence in terms of communication, in terms of creativity, in terms of collaboration, in terms of creative thinking, and the likes. If your products, if your graduates are unable to acquire all this, then they are not future ready. They are not 21st century compliance. And that's why we have a wide gap between the university and the world of work. Our graduates today, most of them, they say are unemployable. Why are they not employable? Because of these factors that we have discussed, including the program that they are running, the method of teaching them, the facilities available, supervisory attitude, then the assessment mode of the teacher, of the learner, and of the entire system. These are the factors that will determine the kind of products that we'll have and will push into the system. And it's garbage in, garbage out. So there is the need for us to supervise, to implement the policies as described in the National Policy on Education. And classroom activities are supposed to be properly monitored. Lecturers are supposed to be well trained and retrained. They should go for refresher programs to acquaint them with the trends in their various areas. How do we teach in the 21st century? The teachers, the lecturers that are supposed to be the teachers to teach the students that will go to the system and be teaching should also be prepared to acquire the 21st century skills. But if the lecturers that will teach the students do not have the 21st century skills, then he will be deficient in his teaching methods, and that will affect the students that he will teach. He will not teach adequately. And so the student that he will prepare to will go out and fumble. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that's our program for today. Remember to follow us across all social media platforms at Unilag on TV. I am Vina Peters. Bye for now.